In this video, we are going to talk about the art direction of quiet luxury. How do brands that sell at the highest price points build worlds with their imagery and some of their choices? And especially the ones that aren't reliant on their logos or some big signatures to do it. In this video, we're going to talk about Loro Piana, we're going to talk about the Ro, we're going to talk about Brunello Cucinelli, we're going to talk about Bottega Veneta. We'll touch on a whole bunch of things along the way. We're going to break down the playbook that's being used by these brands to help justify some of their price points visually and how to create a world that appeals to the quiet luxury consumer. If you're interested in diving more into this world, I have linked below the Luxury Online website report that I did when I worked with Van Group, who's one of the more prestigious luxury website builders in the world. You can grab for free below. I'm super excited to walk through luxury world building with you. Let's lock in. But first, I want to talk about the brands I chose for this video, and then we'll talk about the actual categories that they use and how. The first is Loro Piana, notorious for extremely expensive clothing. Have had a moment once they were featured heavily inside Succession, really capitalized on that with how many stores they've opened and how much they've pushed into the quiet luxury movement in general. But a controversial brand, not a brand that I recommend people buy. I think it is radically overpriced for what it is. They are notedly in trouble for exploitation inside their supply chain, but they are the quintessential quiet luxury brand and one worth understanding. Then we have the Ro. The Ro is one of the most interesting ones to me because it is a newer luxury brand founded by the Olsen twins. They rely on this concept of mystery, on curation, on the power of the form and the quality of the things they have, on a mysterious and artful nature to actually break into this luxury world and succeed. And we have another of the quintessential quiet luxury brands with Brunello Cucinelli, making extremely high-end men's and women's wear, most noted for men's, that bridges everything from formal wear to casual wear and in between, and has really become a lifestyle brand that people can simply buy into. People that want that Italian quiet luxury craft, that are excited by the vision of its founder. And the last one that we're going to talk about is Bottega Veneta, who are in the highest tier of luxury brand. You can put them right next to Hermes, right next to Louis Vuitton, but they have done it notably without a reliance upon a logo and upon the iconography of a brand, and instead with pattern, with form, with silhouette, and with incredible marketing. And you have found interesting, intricate, and artful ways to build a world around their brand inside luxury at the highest level, and they've done their come to prominence within this last decade in a really interesting way. So the four topics that we're going to hit in this that form the foundation for the quiet luxury art direction. First is setting. Second is process. Third is curation. And the fourth is what I'll call upsell to downsell, but really comes to product positioning. So what do we mean by settings? Let's go over to Brunello's Instagram. Almost all of their pics depict basically vacation destinations. From what could be a luxury hotel lobby to day-to-day life inside of a European city, they are showcasing a consumer who was always on the road. And Bottega is the same thing. You will note in basically every one of these Bottega shoots that I'm going to scroll by, they are showcasing a person, a singular person, in an office environment, in a vacation environment. You'll put product in the same thing in a travel-related environment, but yet artful, where the thing that they are around is naturally sculptural. They have all these models sitting all the time inside all of these kind of natural environments, whether that's on rocks, whether that's squatting inside some sort of form of art, it's standing in front of an elevator in an office space, it's the towel thrown down cliffside somewhere in the world. The steps of whatever photo you may be taking in Morocco. They are positioning it as an individual's choice, as you are the Bottega person, and that you have the ability in your life to be traveling and moving and experiencing these things. And the type of person that does that goes to these remote areas, whether it's on the highway side in America, right next down to the craziest Airbnb you could ever book, that is the setting that they are putting their customer inside of. The artful world traveler. And I also want to call out, this is a tool that the Ro uses as well in a similar way. You don't see many Ro environments. Almost all of the photography you will see will either be just plain background, it will be on the wall inside of a house, or it will be on the streets of New York. But when they do choose to use setting more prominently, like they do in their runway shows, it is basically always shown in like a house environment, in what you would imagine a extremely wealthy person's apartment in New York or Paris to look like. And that is the setting with which they communicate to their female customer. They're like, this is the life that you as a Ro consumer are meant to lead, is inside these metropolitan homes, walking around inside the loungy luxury of what we provide, where every decision you make and whatever you wear is just inherently sculptural and luxurious without a logo present. And that being the only setting you see, I think is an interesting tell in itself. And the same goes for Loro Piana. They are constantly putting their target audience, they skew very young in the models they say. They're putting them on vacation. They show their target customer lounging around lakeside, walking on the beach by the ocean, in kind of sculptural environments. And then same thing, they are depicting artful houses, the places that you may not live, but that you are traveling and experiencing inside the majority of their shoots. Everything has that through line that it's not just about, oh, you're going on a vacation. That's what a consumer who isn't living that life might think. It's that your life is a constant travel experience, whether that's for work or for pleasure. And with Bottega and with Loro, that is inherently artful in the way it's presented. And we'll show how the Row handles art in the third section we get into. One of the pillars of luxury I've talked about before is lifetime loyalty, which is built from insight, service, product quality, and brand. Because of the opportunity of luxury branding and the size of the prize when it's done right, brands can get customers for generations. It becomes a family choice. But in the modern world, loyalty is actually changing radically. That's why I recommend you check out this report, How Brands Are Earning Loyalty in an Automated World. It's from HubSpot and SurveyMonkey, and they surveyed 1,800 business leaders and 15,000 consumers across 7 global markets. The biggest friction that they're talking about is the trust gap between businesses using AI and their customers. While 75% of marketing leaders say that AI is more crucial than ever, only 19% of consumers feel excited about it. My favorite section in here is this best practices for staying authentic when using AI. When you're building a brand for the long term, this authenticity is everything. And this section actually calls out 5 clear strategies for using a lot of these new AI tools in ways that build trust with consumers instead of breaking it. You can grab this for free in the description below and get the full breakdown, including sentiment analysis and operational best practices. And thank you so much to HubSpot and SurveyMonkey for sponsoring this video. But with Loro, we get into what's called process content. So especially these more established luxury brands showcase they are worth the price point with process content. So they have a whole section on their website for House of Mastery, where they're literally showing off the photography of their cashmere, etc. But Loro's known for their ultra expensive wool. So the Gift of King's wool being the most notable. So they have a whole, they're doing shots of sheep that are about to get sheared, the wool stretching apart, gorgeous factory shots, all to help justify this $12,200 Gift of King's jacket. They're showcasing their materials on the homepage in big blocks. They have a whole Master of Fibers book detailing the history of their wool. They are justifying the price point through explaining the lore and explaining the history and what goes into it. And even in editorial, you can go tour the Loro Piana Italian factory and see how state-of-the-art the equipment is, what the real machines they're using to create these things to help justify these price points. That it's done by real people, that even though they're telling you it's all made in China, really it's made in these intricate environments. That's an important part of positioning for these luxury brands, to show the investment, the time, how this is made, the care, and the craft. When I did my video on Loewe's art direction, they have every major bag silhouette. They show the pattern, they show how it's put together in an extensive YouTube video, right? They are proof pointing why it is worth the dollars and the craftsmanship that goes into it. And that's an important part of especially older and heritage luxury. And if you have a newer brand and you can't show that, or it doesn't look that good, you need to really think about, are you worth that level of price point, or you need to work up to where you can show that craft to be able to justify it. But if you can't do that, if you are someone like the Row, whose stuff probably isn't made in facilities that look like this, right? What can you do? And so the Row is an interesting one where they have chosen curation. They have chosen mystery as a core of their brand's creative direction. So when you go to their Instagram account, the majority of the content is art. It is curation of art and culture. So when that comes across your timeline, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna think about buying a Row bag. It's, I am looking into this world the Row is giving me a glimpse into. They are curating for me. This is really interesting. Why I like the Row and like talking about them is because they're a new luxury brand, right? So founded by the Olsen twins of Full House fame, their brand is a mystery, much like its founders. A lot of people tap into the brand because they have this huge fandom of all these women that grew up with these girls. They're beloved. You don't know much about them. They're not very public. The Row is one of the only entry points you have into their life, and you get to have this entry point into this extremely artful, interesting world that they are curating. And the consumer wonders, are the Olsen twins curating this? Are there other people? Is it a group? There's a constant form of mystery, but it is an ambassador of culture to a woman of that generation in an amazing, really tastefully done way. And that curation pulls over into the product. The Row's look at jewelry is pure price upon request, is all artful form factors. And again, when they do show the products, they are on blank walls, they're based down. One of the only times you see an environment is on those fashion shows that are again in a house. But their curation doesn't stop with what happens on Instagram and art. They've done this on Spotify as well. Their music provides that cultural vehicle for their audience. 93,000 followers. They do a monthly playlist. They're very good. Some of them, such as this August 25, if you want to dive in, 13,000 followers is a good one. But they are again building this world around what is the Row consumer. What is the world that they exist in? What do they listen to? What art do they buy? What environments do they live in? They focus on this really specific thing and build a really interesting world, and one that exudes luxury and exudes mystery and is able to not get into that process content or the constant travel world. This probably would be an expensive thing to shoot and look at because they're basically building around an aura. Could you do that without having people at the center of the brand who are as prolific or interesting as the Olsen twins? Probably not. But this is where a personality-driven luxury comes into it. Are there people and founders you can build into these idols for the consumer? So we've hit on setting, we've hit on process, we've hit on curation. Now I want to talk about this upsell to downsell is the last one. That's a little more practical talk than my usual art direction. But if you look at these products, like Loro's products, they are presenting, especially in these latest collections, true design and sculptural products at the highest level, as good as any luxury brand can. The silhouette design and presentation of these is absolutely immaculate, but they're not selling this. They're selling polos, they're selling some pants, they're selling maybe a jacket, they're selling a scarf. They're certainly not selling a bunch of these hats. But the product design itself and its presentation for a lot of luxury is merely to downsell the entry-level item, the wallet, etc. When you saw Virgil Abloh and Louis Vuitton doing people dressed as cities, it wasn't to sell the city bulky jacket, it was to sell the Louis Vuitton wallet. And it's worth noting that that presentation and that care and that showcase that we do things at this high level that you can buy into below is kind of an omnipresent thing amongst justifying that price point visually for the consumers that come after it. And look, is an expensive thing to buy into and design into, but that's the game you play when you want to justify price points at that level, to really exist in the luxury world. But also it's an opportunity for visionary creatives to say, I have all these visions in my mind, I have a reason to bring them to life, to make a one-of-one, to use that as marketing for these other things, but know that I actually need to have these streams below it, and then the art direction of everything ties it together. So anyway, if you want to dive more into this, I want to give you the core pillars of what I feel represent these non-flashy luxury brands. If you want to dive deeper into it, I do have that luxury online web guide below. I think you'll find really interesting. You can grab that for free. And I'm putting a whole bunch of these together going into next year. I've got Ralph Lauren loading. I've got some off-ball ones that you might be interested in, like Lana Del Rey. If you have any ideas for them or things that you want to see and learn more of inside these categories, please drop them below. We're always considering the stuff that you guys list out here in terms of what the content roadmap looks like coming up. As always, thank you so much for watching.